All right, let's keep working on some liabilities here. This will be part 4 of the video series. And we're going to see that we're going to have some issues with liabilities unless we fix some of our problems with this statement. And not that we can identify these problems yet, but what's going to happen here is now Jeff is paying his credit card balance. Okay, and we know that it does not make sense to pay down your credit card balance once it's down to 0. And yet here's what's going to happen as we currently stand, that this is just going to keep going, or have some very weird amounts in it anyways, if we push this all the way out. So that's not going to make any sense at all. Let's get rid of all that. And by the way, I should throw in my my F4 amount here, so that that'll always be the same, or always have that absolute reference, so that now we're going to build that amount out. Now, like I say, he's not going to pay down more than his actual balance. So we're actually going to just drag the credit card sheet over here for a second so that things are a little bit easier in terms of moving our information around. And we want to now build this out. So we're going to take the amount that we see here, and we're not going to let that ever be more than the actual balance on the credit card. So we're just going to do, this is going to be based on the previous year's amount, but it's going to be never more than what the actual balance on the credit card is. So we're going to use the min statement function that uses the smallest in a series of numbers. So it can't be more than what's owing on the credit card at that time. And actually what we really need to do is we really need to take into account the interest on the credit card as well. So we're going to do a little formula here where we're going to take the credit card balance plus the credit card interest, and it can never be larger than those amounts. And now we just have to close that out, so that as that credit card balance gets paid down now, which it should as we push this out, and we have to copy our payments across as well. So now, as we get that credit card paid down, we see here Jeff is only going to pay $130 towards that credit card in 2021, our column G, and we can see what that looks like over here. This makes a lot of sense because he only has a $108 balance at that time, $22 in interest, and then the credit card is all paid off out here in 2022. That's easy. So once the card is paid off, we're going to essentially assume that we don't build any more debt there. We will come back to that, because if there is a cash flow shortfall, that's something we're going to have to work into this, but we'll do that a little bit later on. For the time being, we've addressed what we need to address here. We have the credit card all paid off when it's appropriate to do so, and now we just have to really repeat that process for Tina's credit card. So for Tina's credit card, we're going to take her interest into account the same way as we did for Jeff's. We're going to take the interest rate, and we're going to multiply that by the we're good. We can just copy those right across. And I know I've got a 0 in her payment spot for now. That's okay. We'll take care of that when we do this in a second. I'm not worried about those values getting so large yet, because we haven't done anything except for apply a massive amount of interest to her credit card. So of course it's going to get so large. So now we pop over here to multi-year cash flow. And we're going to do the same thing for Tina, where we say we're going to use the smaller of either that $1,080 or the combined total of her credit card principal and credit card interest. So again, Tina is never going to pay more than what she actually owes on that card. And hey, we just fixed all of that all the way along. So now we can go through and run those all the way out. And now for the line of credit. So the line of credit, we have to drag that sheet over now. And again, I can move these sheets around and make things easy in terms of having to sort of go looking for the sheets. And Excel doesn't really care what order they're laid out in, so I can move them back and forth. I can drag my credit card back to the end here, and I'm fine. So now the line of credit amount. So we've got the line of credit payment is based on what we're actually spending here. So now we look at the multi-year cash flow, and we've got this relatively small line of credit payment compared to what we actually have to pay. We can build out the line of credit sheet here the same way. We're just going to take those top rows and we're going to make those look the same as our top rows on the other sheet. So now we can work all the way across here, and we know now we're going to row BT because we wrote it down. And we're going to look at the line of credit principal, or line of credit balance if you prefer, line of credit interest, and the line of credit payments, essentially just repeating the process for what we just did for the credit cards. So we look at line of credit balance, and that's going to be, at least for starters, equal to our liabilities sheet, and we're just going to pull that right off of here for now. And our line of credit interest is going to be that amount times, and we're going to use our data sheet again here. We got a line of credit interest rate. We're going to make that an absolute, again with that F4 shortcut. Put those dollar signs in there. And the line of credit payments are going to be based on our multi-year cash flow, and we can pull that right out of here. And of course, these are all going to be dollar amounts. I'm just going to switch those over to currency format. I'm going to get rid of those decimal places that we don't need. And we can now start working those across. So my line of credit balance here is going to be based on the line of credit balance from the previous year, plus the line of credit interest minus the line of credit payments, just like we saw with our credit card. And of course, we can see the line of credit growing here because we're not making enough payments. We'll solve that momentarily. So of course, our line of credit is growing because our interest is more than our payments. That's good. So now maybe we come back, and maybe all we're going to do is adjust manually our payment towards the line of credit. Okay, we could go back to our expenses, and we could change that just entirely manually to say, well, we know that's got to be at least $2,700, and that would be $225 a month. Okay, and let's do that for now. So that should domino through everything else, and we'll run our line of credit payment out. Oh, sorry, I messed that up. We're going to do as we did here. or something like that. Anyway, sorry, we're going to do equals, and we're going to do that same thing, the minimum of our payment from last year, and we're never going to pay less than the balance, so we're going to look back to our line of credit sheets. Sorry, we're never going to pay more than the balance, I apologize. And we're going to say we're not going to pay more than the sum total of balance and interest, and we close that out, and then we can copy that all the way across. Now we know we're only paying interest on the line of credit, so we're just going to keep that like so forever and ever. That's good. But what we might want to do here is we might actually want to pay down some of the principal on that line of credit. And that might be a variable amount depending on how much cash we actually have available in that year. So let's come back and look at that for the next video.